Hey crew, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, have a really cool and creative animal portrait to cut out completely over on the scroll saw. Once again, showing off the scroll saw's versatility. Now, I already have all the materials prepped and laying in front of me on the table saw and the work stool here. And the design that I have selected to bring to life in today's video is from the old discontinued Creative Woodworks and Crafts magazines. This is November 2005, so the magazine's over 20 years old, so just please be aware of it. But there you see the cover. We've already done some previous projects out of this issue in particular, and the design that I have selected is on page 6, so very early in the magazine itself. But here you see the beautiful and majestic lion. He's got his full mane of hair, kind of like me. I am a Leo. I was born in late July, but really, really cool. I've always had a fascination with the big cats like this. I'm not particularly a small cat fan, but I do love the lions. I'm more of a dog person, so to speak. But anyway, here we have this beautiful and majestic portrait designed by Mr. Jacob Fowler, and the one cut and featured here visually in the magazine is finished by Mr. Wayne Fowler. So thank you guys for this beautiful design here. You can see it's got a lot of intricate and tedious cuts in it. The full-size pattern is located in the pattern pull-out section. Now, because of the size of the copier I have out here in the workshop, I had to do this in two different pieces, 2 pages, and then connect them to the best of my abilities. And then we attached the pattern, the full-size pattern, to our material with clear packing tape. Now, this is roughly 3/4 inch in thickness. This was 2 boards I found in the storage shed that's behind the sticker swap sticker wall, and I glued it together. I edge joined it to the best of my abilities, and then we sanded it and ran it through the thickness planer and then sanded it. But I think it's going to look real cool with the grain textures here, because how they look on the back, I hope that translates to the front here once we get all of these beautiful details cut out over on the Rikon scroll saw. And we're going to do a bit of prep work before we head over to the scroll saw and get all of our pilot holes drilled and start making sawdust. What I'm going to do first is take some spray paint and spray paint our backer board. This is the material I like using for the laser engraver. It's 1/4 inch in thickness, but you can see it's very light, very flexible. It's not very dense at all, but this makes great backer board material, and I will of course use Rust-Oleum spray paint to spray paint this, and I'll set it by the wood stove to help accelerate the drying time while we are over at the scroll saw cutting out all of the beautiful details that make up the beautiful and majestic lion portrait. Really happy to make this project. It's always cool to make animal designs out in your workshop just to show the beauty of nature. And since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, let's move the camera so we can spray paint the backer board, then come back to the workbench to drill all the pilot holes so we can head over to the Rikon scroll saw and bring this beautiful line to life. And over by the wood stove, we're going to place our piece of 1/4 inch material and spray paint it with a black Rust-Oleum spray paint. And we'll leave it sitting here so the stove can help accelerate the drying time. But we'll take our piece that we are going to scroll over to the workbench and take the Seiko scroller's drill and drill out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And you'll note that I have a backer board behind the scroll saw work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. There is a plethora of small and tiny internal cuts on this project, but as always, we'll take our time and get through them all to get all of the details cut out. Now, over at the Rikon scroll saw, I'm beginning with some of the center details of the design and working my way outwards. That is the general rule of thumb when it comes to scroll saw portraits and designs. Always begin with the smaller internal cuts, and always try to begin with the central details and work your way outward. That way you do not risk breaking any of the central details if you would decide to scroll them last. Hope that makes sense. For all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and I went through a few while cutting this project out entirely from start to finish. As always, you want to make sure you keep a sharp blade in the scroll saw, and with the proper tension and feed rate, the scroll saw blade will go through the material like butter. Here at the close-up view, you can see me knocking out more of those small details. This project has a lot of those tight V-turns in it, and you guys can see how I am achieving those over at the scroll saw. As always, taking my time and letting the blade do the work. But when I seen this design featured in the old Creative Woodworks and Crafts magazines, I kind of earmarked it when I found it to make at a later date, and this is that date here. It's always cool to bring animal portraits to life over on the scroll saw. And as I said at the beginning, I am a Leo in the zodiac calendar. And here is our new angle for this year. I've got the camera strapped to my chest, and this is basically the same view that I see when I'm over at the scroll saw. Now obviously the footage is sped up for time-lapse purposes, and I've already used this camera angle in one video, and if you guys want to continue seeing this angle for certain projects, especially detailed projects like this, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to provide that footage for you guys for scroll saw project videos. All in all, it took me around 2.5 hours to scroll this project out completely from start to finish, and during the course of cutting everything out, I did get up occasionally and stretch to prevent my body from getting stiff or fatigued while over at the scroll saw. Doing the final internal cut here, and then all of the internal cutting will be done, and we can do the final border cut to complete all of the scroll work for now. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But once all the cutting is done for now, we'll step over to the workbench and use an X-Acto knife to help peel away the pattern. Of course, it comes off easily because it was attached with clear packing tape. But now it will be time for sanding with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in the vibrating palm sander, and being very careful with sanding here using small circular motions. And I'll sand both the front and the back side. And then during all this time, the backer board had ample time to dry, and it was time to glue the scroll work to the backer board with medium grade CA glue and activator. And I'll use spring clamps and strips of wood. Of course, the strips of wood help add pressure to those central details to help it grab the backer board. But after it's set for around 5 minutes, I came back and removed the clamps, and it was time to go over to the Rikon scroll saw for the final time to do the flush trimming around the perimeter of the portrait. I have always cut my backer boards oversized and always have finished cutting them down in this manner. But after I get done here, we'll go over to the belt sander, and I'll do more flush sanding to give everything a uniform and smooth appearance. And I'll go around to all 4 sides here. And then while I was doing this, the air compressor was charging up, and I quickly, before going over to clear coating, got the air hose and blew out any of that caked in sawdust. And after I was happy with that, it was time for a finish. And for a finish, I gave the project a couple coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and it really made the grain textures of the material we cut out here pop and stand out. And when it dried, the project was complete. And And here we have the completed King of the Lions lion portrait, cut out completely over on the Rikon scroll saw from start to finish, and it has some beautiful and immaculate details in it. I want to once again thank Mr. Wayne and Jacob Fowler for the beautiful and intricate design featured in the old discontinued issue of Creative Woodworks and Crafts Magazine. I once again hold that magazine up as we close the video, as I always do, to show it to you guys once again. But really, really cool. Look at the intricate details that is in this portrait that makes up the majestic lion, king of the jungle. And of course, as I said at the beginning, I am a Leo in the zodiac calendar. But really, really cool. It took me around 2.5 hours to scroll this project out completely from start to finish. And if you have a project that's going to take you longer than normal to cut out, and you intend to get it cut out in one session, get up periodically and stretch your legs, stretch your arms, stretch your back, stretch your shoulders. That way you do not have any burnout while you are over at the scroll saw making the beautiful work out of a piece of material. But I hope a project like this really shows off what a scroll saw is capable of with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort. Now, here in the heart of winter, it's taking longer and longer for the clear coats to dry. The Rust-Oleum clear gloss we added for a finish really made the grain textures in that wood pop. I didn't add any additional splashes of stain or anything. I really love how that grain came to the forefront and got darker and really shows off the beautiful details in everything we cut out over at the scroll saw. And I went with a traditional black background, but I've thought about this while I was waiting for the project to dry where we could film the outro here. You can go to places that has scrapbook material. So here we have a few pieces of it. Here's one with some palm trees. I picked this one up, of course, because I like the beach. But if you could find a piece of material like this, it's almost like cardstock paper, you could put that as your background. So if you could find a nice jungle green one, or maybe a savanna like out in Africa or something where the lions actually roam, that would make an even cooler background than just the traditional black that we use on the scroll saw portraits over here on the platform. But you can see as you look closer some of those intricate details. I did what I always do with projects like this, and I took my time and I let the blade do the work, and I was as loyal as I could be to the cut line, and I hope that the results speak for themselves. In the way I flush sanded everything around the perimeter over on the belt sander after doing the trim work for the backer board, I always make my backer boards oversized and not to the actual size, just in case there's any kind of actual discrepancies. Once I glue the pieces together, I like to be able to flush trim them, if that makes any sense. But flush trimming them and then flush sanding them kind of gives it the illusion that it's one individual piece of wood instead of pieces glued together. And keep in mind, the actual blank we used was 2 pieces of material that I edge joined together that I talked about at the beginning of the video. So all in all, it's 3 total pieces here that make up this portrait. And once it completely dries and cures overnight, I can put a hanger on it and display it over on the scroll saw woodworking display wall with some of the other beautiful portraits that I have cut out over the years. But I really like making animal portraits, and projects like this that are nature inspired or landscape inspired or animal themed like this, I feel like it lends itself to the spiral scroll saw blades for cutting them out, because keep in mind there's no straight lines in nature. And also, speaking of that, now I do believe it's very important around the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and the whiskers that you are as loyal as you can be to the cut line. But over here in all of the details that make up the lion's mane, if you're just a little off, I feel like it can be overlooked once the pattern is removed, because of the nature, again, with no straight lines being out in the big wide world we live in, out in nature, or with the beautiful creatures that inhabit the planet Earth. But I'm really happy with how the project came out. Again, you could use scrapbook paper for a backer board. You could go in with acrylic craft paints and paint this up to make him look lifelike. You could cut it out of thicker material. Keep in mind, this is around 3/4 inches in thickness, and it took me over 2.5 hours to scroll it out completely, taking a couple breaks in between and breaking to get a snack and something like that and drinking the rest of my coffee. But if you cut it out of thicker material, you could potentially put colored resins and epoxies down in here and then sand it and then clear coat it, and that would take a project like this to the next level. But I hope you guys like this project. I hope you like seeing an animal project made from start to finish over on the scroll saw. And again, I'm just very happy and pleased with how it came out, with again a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort. Once again, as I said, the pattern came from the old discontinued Creative Woodworks and Crafts Magazine, November 2005. So again, the magazine is well over 20 years old, and you can see the nice intarsia fish portrait there on the cover. And again, we've already done a couple other projects from this magazine itself, and we still have that whole archive of Creative Woodworks and Crafts magazines to look through and bring projects to life visually over here on the YouTube platform. And the full-size pattern is featured in the pattern pull-out section that we photocopied. We always keep our originals to preserve them and use them for future projects. But I want to show the one that they made featured in the magazine. This is the visual representation, and here is the one we made in today's video. So hopefully they look similar. And I really like when you have it far away, you kind of don't know what it is, but then as you get closer, the mighty king of the jungle emerges. But really, really cool. I had a lot of fun in today's video, and I hope you guys like watching me make this project from start to finish. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button, and also find me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.